Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonnet, the owner and creator behind Sonnet's Garden Blooms, and in today's video you guys are getting a real treat. It is the official release date of the spring Roycycled Decoupage papers, and I am part of the Roycycled Creative Team, so this is going to be a video showcasing all the new Roycycled papers. So I hope you guys enjoy today's video. For project 1, this paper is called Pressed Flower Masterboard, and you guys, I fell in love when I saw this paper. Look at all those beautiful butterflies, the botanicals, all the different fonts throughout all the images, and the color is stunning. I know that there are so many projects that I can complete with this, but there is one image that really caught my eye, and that's what I'm going to use in today's project. The image that really caught my eye right away was in the upper right hand corner, and the reason why is I thrifted this book and actually the entire cover fell off and there was really no saving it, so it just was the actual vintage book, and the coloring of this image and the book are perfect. I am cutting it out, and what we're going to do is I am going to decoupage the paper to the very front of the book, and we're going to make it look like it's part of this old vintage book. And look at all the paper that I still have left to complete on more projects. I'm going to fold that back up, set it aside for future use. Here's the book that I was talking about, and you can see the whole entire cover completely fell off, and I love the look of the binding of it, and look at how close this color is to the original book. I am lining it up and I'm trying to figure out exactly what I want on the book, what part of the image, and I'm going to basically just create a line around the perimeter so that I know what I need to cut. And you can see I made a crease in the paper, so I'm just taking a scissors, I'm cutting away the excess, and typically on other projects what I would do is I would leave a little bit of an overhang and I would use a piece of sandpaper to get rid of any of the excess. I felt like that was not doable for a book, so I'm going to try to cut it as perfect as possible and then apply it. Next, I'm going in with liquid patina. This is my go-to decoupage medium. I talk about this stuff all the time, but it works great with Roycycled paper. Now that I have my paper placed exactly how I want it, I am going to start with what I like to call a starter strip. So I peel the paper back and I am going to apply just a little bit of the liquid patina. And the key here is you don't want this too thick. You just want a really nice even layer. Then I let the paper go, I smooth it out, and then I work my way down. And it really is that easy. And then after I get it all applied, I add one more coat of the liquid patina, and I'm going to let this dry. This was such an easy thrift flip and it completely saved this book. I actually didn't know what I had planned on doing with it, and I'm so glad that I came up with this idea. For project 2, this paper is called Spring Blocks 2024, and this paper has 4 stunning images. What I love about this paper is that you can cut these up and use them on 4 different projects as is, or you can even go in further and just use chunks of the paper on smaller projects. And I right away loved this bunny. I am feeling all things spring, and I had this frame that I didn't know what I wanted to do with it, and it went so good with that frame. So let's get this project started. The first step of the project is I am going to cut this image out, and then I'm going to fold up the piece of paper and tuck it away for future use. This is the frame that I was talking about, and I am using crinoline from DIY Paint. What I plan on doing is covering up the chalkboard piece of the frame. For a second, I stopped and I thought, should I take the chalkboard out of the frame? But on the back, there were these little like staples. It would have been too much work. So I go in and I just start applying one coat. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to go back in and apply a second coat to really cover up that black. Once it dries, then we can add the little bunny to this frame. I grab my liquid patina, which is my go-to decoupage medium from DIY Paint, and I am going to do like I do on all my projects. I'm going to create that starter strip, but before I do that, I am putting the piece of decoupage paper in the frame. I'm going to line it all up, make sure I have it placed exactly how I want it before I start with the liquid patina. That's the key. You want to line everything up, then pull your paper back, and then start applying your starter strip. And that's just a nice even coat of the liquid patina. And at this point, I should have already broke out my misting bottle and misted the paper. Because as I laid it down and I started laying it out, I realized that the paper started to expand, and that started causing some wrinkles. But by misting it, it helps you with that process, and it makes it go on so much smoother. So I took my misting bottle, I misted the paper, and as I applied it, it was virtually wrinkle-free. So that is something that a tip I just recently picked up from Royce. If you don't follow her, definitely head on over to Roycycled Treasures, and she posts so many informative videos over there, and she is the mastermind behind all these beautiful decoupage papers. Now that it's completely dry, I realized that the color difference was a little off. When I first looked at this image, I didn't realize it was a slightly minty color in the image, and the frame was a little bit more on the blue side. And to cover that up or disguise it a bit, I am using DIY's dark wax, and I am going to wax the entire frame. Plus, around the very edges of the paper, I'm going to just add a little bit of wax and make it look a little bit more aged and distressed. So I add the wax, and then I take a piece of paper towel and I wipe away the excess, and I work my way around and I work in sections, and I love how this has turned out, you guys. For project 3, this paper is called Spring Masterboard, and you guys, it is jam-packed full of all things spring. The first thing I saw were all the beautiful birds. I love that bird cage. The botanicals, oh my word, I love flowers and florals. The dragonfly, it has several different nests on here. I was definitely in heaven when I saw this. I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do at first, and then I decided I wanted to create some tags. I love creating tags and putting them on different items or some of my small pieces, just as an added something to the piece. And it is so easy to create tags. So I found these wood tags on Amazon, and I bought, I think, a pack of like 200, and what an easy and simple way to just take a small decor piece and definitely elevate it. The first thing I'm doing is I'm putting the tag behind the different images. I want to see what part of that image is actually going to be on that tag, and then I cut it out. Just a pro tip. At first I was setting it over the image. I'm like, I can't even see what it's going to look like. So as you can see that tag right through that decoupage paper, and you can line it up and then take your scissors and cut out whatever image you want. The other thing you want to be aware of is you want a little bit of an overhang when you're cutting out your image, and that's in case something were to move as you're applying the decoupage paper, that you have a little bit of wiggle room. And then after it dries, there's a really quick, easy fix. You just take a piece of sandpaper and sand away the excess paper. The next step here is I always like to apply white as a base. You don't have to, but it is definitely going to make your image of your decoupage paper pop. So I'm applying an even coat of white swan to all three of these tags. I'm going to let them dry very thoroughly, and then let's go ahead and apply that decoupage paper. I'm using liquid patina, again, my go-to decoupage medium with Royce's papers, and I am applying just a little bit of the liquid patina, just a nice even amount over the entire piece. Typically, I do use a starter strip, but because this is so small, it is very easy to manage this small piece of decoupage paper. But as you can see, I set it down and I didn't have it placed right. So maybe I should have started with a starter strip. I then reapply it. I take my brush and I smooth out all the wrinkles, and then I work my way down. And I go to all the edges and really just make sure I have a good adhesion over the entire tag. I then push it aside and let it dry, and then I continue on with the rest. The key here is you want your pieces to be completely dry before you start sanding. Otherwise, if it's wet in any way, the decoupage paper will rip off of your piece. So now that these are completely dry, I just take my sandpaper in a downward motion and I sand away the excess. Then I just take a pen and I reopen that hole, and I keep on working on all the rest of the projects. But this is such a simple and easy project. And think of, you can get different size tags. There's so many different Royce papers that would be absolutely perfect for creating tags. This could also be used for gifts as well, not just small decor pieces. You could create custom tags for gifts that you give away as well. After that, I do have a bit of twine. I'm just going to run a piece of twine through each of the tags and then tie it off, and then this project is complete. For project 4, this is called Spring Elements, and I love that this paper is a scaled down version of the Spring Blocks 2024. And so it has all those beautiful images that are in the Spring Blocks, plus a few more. And I initially looked at this and I was like, which one do I want to work with? They're all so beautiful. But you guys, I am a sucker for birds and birds' nests, and that one caught my eye right away. So I knew I was going to use that block, and I grabbed this plate, and I've had this for a while. I ended up finding it at the Goodwill bins, and I thought I could do something fun with it. I just never knew what. And the moment I saw that image, I was like, it's going right in the center. So I take my plate, I line it all up, and then I just take my finger and I rub around to create a circular like indentation in that paper so I can cut it out. By also putting a circle like that, I try to waste as little paper as I possibly can because there's so many beautiful images, and you can see there's another whole chunk of this section that I can use on another project. So I go in, I cut that all out, and I still have a big chunk left that I can use, and I just make sure I fold this all back up and have it ready for a future project. Now that I have it all cut out and I placed it exactly where I wanted it, I am using liquid patina, my go-to decoupage medium, and I am going to apply just a little bit. I'm going to do that starter strip and apply just a nice even coat of the liquid patina. Once I get that applied, I lay my paper down, I smooth it out, and then I just work my way down. And honestly, you guys, this completely transformed this plate, a plate that I had no idea what I wanted to do with. I actually was considering just donating it back, and I now love it, and I know exactly where I'm going to place it in my booth. I think it's going to be the perfect addition. For my fifth and final project, this is called Crate Collage. And if you guys love Royce's papers called Underwood Crate or Wood Crate Trolley, you are going to love this one. It is jam-packed full of all these beautiful images of old vintage crates. And you guys, I'm loving it. While I was thrifting at the Goodwill bins, I found this crate. I loved it because it had great bones. I wasn't 100% sold on the color, so I set it aside. When I don't have a vision of how I want it to go, I always set those pieces aside until I'm inspired. And today I was inspired by Crate Collage, and we are going to completely transform this wood crate with that decoupage paper. For starters, what I'm doing is I'm using DIY's beadboard, which is another beautiful white from DIY Paint, and I am applying one even coat to all sides of the crate, and that's where I will be applying the decoupage paper. I want that paper to pop. So, and because it is already painted all these different colors, I thought I'm just going to start with a nice clean slate. So that's what I'm going to do is apply one even coat, let it dry, and then we're going to come back and we're going to start applying the decoupage paper. Next, what I'm doing is I'm going to take the decoupage paper. I'm going to figure out what image I want on this side. I really like this chunk, so I'm going to cut it out, have just a little bit of excess. That way, when I put the decoupage paper on, if it would happen to move at all, there's that little bit of excess on all the sides, and we're going to take that away with a piece of sandpaper at the end.
So here I am cutting it out, lining it up, and now I'm ready to apply the decoupage paper. Again, I'm using liquid patina, which is my favorite decoupage medium. And all the supplies that I'm using in today's video, keep in mind, you can order off of my website at www.sonnetsgardenblooms.com. So after I line it up, I'm going to pull that paper back and I'm going to start using or doing a starter strip, just a nice even coat of the liquid patina. And once I apply that, then I'm going to start smoothing this out. Now, I want to point out there are little tiny metal knobs on each of the corners. So after I spread out the liquid patina and the paper, I then add just a little bit of water to each of those corners, and it just allows the paper to adhere or go around all those little metal knobs. And I just work my paintbrush and I kind of dab in there to really fit that paper around there, and it worked amazing. After that, I just worked my way all the way down, and this project took a little bit longer because I had to work in sections. So I had to let this dry, then I could flip it over to the next side, apply it on that side, and so on and so on. So that was a little bit more time consuming, but it was so well worth it in the end. I want to also show you this is what it looks like halfway through. And what I also did is I painted the inside and the bottom weathered wood from DIY Paint, and it was a perfect addition to this crate. The last thing I want to mention is after I applied all four sides and I let it dry, I sanded off that excess paper. When I did sand off the excess paper, what happened was a little bit of white sometimes showed through, or that undercolor, there was those yellows and blues. So what I did is I took a fine tip paintbrush and I used weathered wood and I just touched up in those areas. And then I took my finger and I smoothed it out to really blend it. It turned out so good. And then I went where all those little metal raised pieces were. I added a little bit of weathered wood to all those raised metal pieces. And then I took my finger and I kind of blended it as well. The last thing after it was all dry, I took Big Top, which is from DIY, and it is a sealer, and I sealed the entire piece with Big Top. And then that really was how easy this project was.
I hope that you guys are as inspired as I was when I first saw those papers. Honestly, Royce hit it out of the park. I love it when she creates her master boards and her block papers. They have so many possibilities and you can, complete so many projects with those. So I can't wait to see what you guys all create. And Monday's video, you guys, I am back to working on my PhD. Yes, you heard it. My project's half done. I am trying to work through those and get those all completed. So it will be probably thrift to treasure and completing some projects that I started that I need to finish and get the heck out of my studio or my workspaces. All right, well, you guys have yourselves a great week or weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye.